What would you do if a single act of kindness turned your world upside down? On a chilly autumn evening, Clara Bennett, a 28-year-old barista with a heart too big for her modest life, found herself at a crossroads she never expected. Her routine was predictable pouring coffee, forcing smiles through long shifts, and driving her beat-up sedan home to a cramped apartment. But that night, as rain streaked her windshield, she saw him, a man in a wheelchair, stranded at a bus stop, soaked and shivering under a flickering streetlight. Something in her gut told her to stop, though every practical instinct screamed to keep driving. Clara pulled over, her tires crunching on wet gravel. The man looked up, startled, his face etched with lines of hardship, but softened by eyes that held a quiet resilience. His name was Daniel, he said, his voice low but steady. He was in his early 40s, his jacket threadbare, his hands gripping the wheels of his chair like they were his only anchor. The last bus had never shown, and his phone was dead. Clara didn't hesitate. She helped him into her car, folding his wheelchair with clumsy hands, her cheeks flushed with the awkwardness of the moment. They exchanged small talk, safe, surface-level words about the weather, the city, the way life always seemed to throw curveballs. Daniel's laugh was warm, unexpected, and it made Clara feel like she'd done something right. She drove him to a modest house on the edge of town, a place with chipped paint and a sagging porch. He thanked her, his gratitude so raw it made her throat tighten. As she drove away, his silhouette lingered in her rearview mirror, and she felt a flicker of something unfamiliar purpose, maybe, or the weight of a moment she couldn't yet define. Clara didn't expect to see him again. She didn't expect that one ride would unravel her life like a thread pulled from a sweater. Days passed, and Clara sank back into her routine. The coffee shop was a blur of steam and chatter, her nights spent scrolling her phone, chasing distractions from the ache of a life that felt too small. She thought of Daniel sometimes, his quiet strength, the way his eyes seemed to carry stories he hadn't told. But the memory faded, tucked away like a receipt in a drawer. That is, until the knock came. It was a Thursday evening, the sky bruised with clouds. Clara was halfway through a microwave dinner when the sharp rap at her door made her jump. She opened it to find a woman standing there, her face unfamiliar, but her expression urgent. The woman was in her 30s, with sharp cheekbones and hair pulled back tightly. She introduced herself as Lena, her voice clipped, like she was holding back a storm. "You're Clara, right? The one who gave Daniel a ride?" she asked, her eyes searching Clara's face. Clara nodded, confused, her heart picking up speed. Lena's next words hit like a punch. "He's gone. Daniel's gone. And he left something for you." Clara's mind spun. Gone? Dead? Missing? She barely knew the man, yet the news landed like a loss she couldn't explain. Lena handed her a small, sealed envelope, Daniel's name scrawled on it in uneven handwriting. "Read it," Lena said, her voice softening. "He was my brother. He told me about you." Clara's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, its words raw and deliberate, like they'd been carved from Daniel's soul. He wrote of a life marked by struggling a car accident that took his legs and his dreams of being a musician, years of scraping by, of feeling invisible. But that night, Clara's kindness had reminded him he was still seen. He wrote that her act, so small to her, had been a lifeline, a spark that made him believe he could still leave something good in the world. The letter ended with a request. He'd left her a gift at his house, something he'd been too shy to give in person. Clara's eyes stung as she read the address scribbled at the bottom. Lena drove her there, the silence between them heavy but not uncomfortable. The house was as Clara remembered, but inside, it was a shrine to a life interrupted. Sheet music was scattered across a dusty table. A guitar leaned against a wall, its strings long silent. Lena led her to a small wooden box on a shelf. Inside was a pendanta, simple silver circle etched with a music note. A note tucked beneath it read, "For Clara, who gave me a song when I'd forgotten how to sing." Clara clutched the pendant, tears spilling over. She barely knew Daniel, yet his gift felt like a piece of his heart, a weight she wasn't sure she deserved. Lena watched her, her own eyes glassy. "He wasn't just my brother," she said quietly. "He was my hero. He used to play music for me when I was a kid before the accident. After that, he stopped. Said he didn't have it in him anymore. But after he met you, he started humming again. Just for a few days, but it was something." The twist came like a gust of wind. Lena reached into her bag and pulled out a crumpled flyer. It was for a local music event, one Daniel had organized in secret before he died. He'd been planning to perform again, for the first time in years, inspired by Clara's kindness. The event was tomorrow, and Lena was determined to make it happen in his memory. She asked Clara to come, to speak about the man who'd touched her life in a single night. Clara, overwhelmed, agreed, though her voice shook with doubt. She wasn't a speaker, wasn't special, just a barista who'd done what anyone would. The next night, Clara stood before a small crowd in a dimly lit community hall. Her hands trembled as she held the pendant, Daniel's letter folded in her pocket. She told his story, her voice breaking as she described the man who'd been invisible to so many but had seen her. The crowd listened, some crying, others nodding, as if Daniel's life had touched theirs too. Lena played a recording of one of Daniel's old songs, a haunting melody that filled the room like a heartbeat. Clara realized then that her small act had rippled outward, touching lives she'd never know. In the days that followed, Clara wore the pendant every day. It was a reminder that kindness, however fleeting, could change everything. She started volunteering at a local shelter, her one small world expanding with purpose. She wasn't rich or famous, but she felt alive in a way she hadn't before. Daniel's gift wasn't just the pendant, it was the courage to see herself as someone who could make a difference. The knock on her door had changed her life forever, not because of what was in the envelope, but because it showed her the power of a single moment. Clara had given Daniel a ride, but he'd given her something greater, a reason to keep going, to keep seeing the unseen. And in that exchange, two strangers had found a way to save each other.